Joining us now on the MARR Rock Show, we have Gary Noon, who's from the project Walking with Giants. Band out of Baltimore, but not exactly just totally out of Baltimore anymore. They're kind of from all over the place. I'm going to let Gary tell you more about some of the great band members in a minute. Gary, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Now, the new album, A World's Unknown, is due out January 16th, but this week, the new single came out. And I'm going to let you tell everybody about that shortly. But first, introduce the amazing players that are a part of Walking with Giants.
Yeah, sure thing. We originally started out with Clint Lowry and myself and Scott Phillips. Clint was the producer. He did backing vocals and guitar, and then he and I actually traded off on bass for that first album. And then I played, lead guitar, rhythm guitar, lead vocals most of the time, and then also, Clint and I co-write together, and then Scott Phillips was behind the kit. The second record, we brought in Brian Marshall to play bass, and it was still Flip and Clint and I. And then for this first full-length record, Scott was a little on the busy side, so Clint suggested we bring in Morgan, and so we got Morgan Rose to come in and take over the drums for this particular record. And that was really exciting to get to work with all of these guys. But, Morgan Rose as well he's such an amazing drummer. And I was like, totally freaking out at first, what was it going to be like? And turns out he's a totally cool, laid back dude. So it wasn't an issue at all. And Scott's Flip is the same way, which is kind of funny. I thought drummers would be like super meticulous and intense, and they're incredibly laid back. Yet when they play, it's precise, everything's right when they go to track. Those guys are the ones that get their tracking done the quickest. The guys that make all the mistakes and have to redo are the guitar players and the bass players and the vocalists. So it's pretty funny to see that.
So let's talk a little bit. Oh, I want to ask you too. You work with a pretty cool producer too. I've had a chance to see Mike Ferretti do some work before. Man, talk about him a little bit.
Yeah, Mike Ferretti is fantastic. He's does all the engineering and does our mixing and everything like that for the project. And he's another one of those guys where his work is incredibly precise. He knows exactly what he's doing. You can sit there and watch him, at the board and on the Pro Tools rig, and it's amazing to watch how quickly he does everything and how natural it comes to him. But he has a fantastic ear for the music too. I always thought that an engineer was just a guy that knew how to turn knobs and those kind of things, but he understands, about how the song, what the ideas are that we're going for musically or, melodically, lyrically, and he offers suggestions and does things to help us correct things and stuff. And he is fantastic and very, very low pressure guy, compared to the work that he puts out. I mean, the stuff that he does is incredible, and each record has gotten better and better, and you can listen to that on the last 3 Seven Dust records, like Black Out the Sun, then their Time Travelers and Bonfires, and then their latest one, Kill the Flaw. His mixing and engineering got better each and every time, and each of those records are just phenomenal. So,
yeah, there's no doubt, man. I'm a huge fan of his work as well. Now, for the World's Unknown album, the people that saw the lyric video that came out for Different Voice and some of the imagery out there might think it's an outer space album, but it really kind of has some different meaning behind it, doesn't it?
Yeah. World's Unknown was more about inner states, in your head, the kind of things that you think about as an individual, the type of struggles and that kind of stuff. And, we thought that having that science fiction space theme would be a bit more visual than having a guy sitting there and trying to think. You know what I mean? So it's a much more visual way of seeing things. Throughout the lyric video, there's this cool little spaceship flying from planet to planet, and they're different planets. Everything looks incredibly different compared to what we see, through what NASA sends back to us all the time. They're just goofy rocks in space, but here are these really cool looking worlds with all kinds of different things going on. And, this point of this record is all about, what a person thinks and what type of effect that has on them, and, what can you do to come up with different ways of thinking to become a better person and to be better at what you do.
Yeah, man, one of the things I really love that you did that, I miss the days back when I was a kid and you would get the vinyl record and open that up and read all the liner notes. And I love that on your website that people can check out, you have not only the lyrics, but the story behind the song. What prompted you to do that?
Yeah, originally when we came up with this record, I worked with a guy named Gogi Randala, and you may know him from Dear Enemy and Via Sava, but he's also a fantastic graphic designer and video producer. And so we sat down and talked about, what do I want this record to be like? And what I told him is, I want a fan to be able to, listen to the record and then interactively kind of go through the material, just like you would on a CD. But let's say somebody buys it digitally, they don't get a booklet because this particular digipack we did, it's not a booklet. It's actually, like an 8-panel CD with a tray inside, and all the lyrics and stuff are all a part of that panel, right? There's no booklet. So we wanted them to be able to, go online, listen to the song, see what the lyrics are all about, play like a 30-second preview, of each track on the album to kind of get an idea of what it's like if they don't know who we are. But that was really what it was about, trying to make, what's a way to make this more tangible to a person in the digital age, make it maybe worth their time and their investment to pick it up versus just going and streaming it somewhere.
Yeah, man, it's a really nice touch. I mean, before I knew I was going to be interviewing you, I had the chance to go through it and look through some of the cool lyrics. One of them that stuck out at me that I thought was a really kind of pretty cool quote is from the new single we're going to feature tonight, Heavy Hand, and that is, the worst enemy, the strongest ally you have is you. Talk about that.
Yeah, that's, I guess every song I feel like is the core of the record, but that thought process right there, it's the way you think and the actions you take they're really based off of your thinking and what you allow to influence your thinking. And I notice it myself all the time. It's like, there's certain things I say I believe, but then I go and do stupid stuff, and it's because my thinking was headed in that stupid direction. So it's like, okay, what can I do to become a person that works towards the better for myself versus always getting in my own way and causing mistakes and the same old dumb things to happen. And I think everybody goes through that in some way, but I tend to be a little over-analytical when it comes to that sort of stuff. But I feel like in the end it makes me better.
So a lot of people are going to wonder, when can they see you play live? Because, it's not like Morgan and Clint don't have a couple other things underway as well. Are you planning to tour with some different folks, or are you guys going to get together? What's the future for live shows? Yeah,
so the guys that we're playing with, they're part of the studio team. So Walking with Giants itself, if you think of it, is me. I'm like the artist, and those guys support me in the effort in the studio. And we're working on band members for playing it live. I've actually got 2 of the 3 guys that I've been talking to, and the goal is to start playing some weekend shows beginning in the early spring, and then we're going to, based off of the response, take it into a more lengthy tour because being like most artists out there, I have a day job as well, so I've got to be able to balance that until such time as the level of success, as it were, would justify me being able to, take off a month, right, and tour and that kind of thing. So we're going to try to do it in a way where we play frequently enough, but it may not be like a full month. It may be, a couple of weekends a month or 3 weekends a month until things begin to pick up.
So I love looking back at, folks that check out your Walking with Giants Facebook page can see these like 4 or 5 videos of the making of Worlds Unknown from up there at Architect Studio when you're actually working with Clint and Morgan. Was there any one favorite moment of that experience that jumps out at you that maybe wasn't captured on video, like a oh my gosh moment?
Clint and I had these moments. I think one of the reasons why we ended up working together was that I was introduced to him backstage through a mutual friend of theirs back in 2009, I think it was, and he and I initially hit it off because we both, of course, I'm a fan, I love their music, but then we started talking about guitar and gear, and we found out a lot of our musical interests as we were growing up were in most cases the same. Clint and I think, are 2 or 3 years apart, but we're close to the same age, and so we grew up on a lot of the same things we were driven towards guitar harmonies and, you know, tight riffs and all these different things that as we were growing up. And so we kind of maintained this, you know, this friendship. And so during this whole process, you know, he and I would have these moments where as we were, you know, working on lyrics together and a particular phrase or melody would come together and Clint would be like, yeah, this is great, man. And then I would have the, you know, the opportunity to, you know, comment on the stuff that he came up with. It was just those moments there, I think, are the most exciting to me because, you know, having an artist that I respect at that level, you know, I feel like in a way, you know, becomes a peer. I mean, I'm nowhere near his level yet, or his capability yet, but, you know, I'm reaching for it. And that's what Walking with Giants is about. The name is, you know, here I am walking with these guys that are my heroes, but I'm also side by side with them. You know, we're becoming peers as well. And there's lots of moments. I mean, even in like the first EP we had, there's a song called Another Life, and it's probably my favorite out of the early stuff that we did. But when we were writing the song, it ended up becoming a story of what I was doing, you know, and how, you know, me and I were getting together trying to write this music, and it was like a major personal leap for me to step out and try to do this. And so we had this moment when we're listening to the rough mix on the way back to the hotel that night, and we're listening to it, and we both kind of got a little, you know, teary-eyed. I know it sounds goofy, but it was like we were living the moment that we were listening to in the music. And so, you know, those things I'll never forget. You know, jamming with them is great and exciting, but when you have that emotional connection and you see them more than just the, you know, the musician or the idol that you look up to, that's a very valuable thing to me.
Yeah, well, man, you picked some great people to look up to and work with. I've had the pleasure of meeting and seeing those guys record before, and they're absolutely, man, did you pick the right guys to hitch your wagon to? That's all I can say about it. So,
man, you know what's cool is, you know, I didn't get a chance to say anything about Brian. I really want to, you know, make sure I get him, you know, get him some due props if it's okay. But you know, when we brought Brian on, I could have probably asked him on the first one, but I was like, okay, well, I asked Clint, and he said, yeah, and I didn't think Flip would accept me. He did, and my mind's totally blown. I don't know if I want to take a chance, you know, and ask Brian, and he was like, you should have, man, you should have said something. But when we brought him into the second record, it was like, you know, I knew with him, he's not the typical bass player, just hangs on the low notes all the time. He plays these rhythms and then melodies that kind of weave in between what you're doing, right? So it's not like, all right, I can tell the bass player because I just hear him going boom, boom, boom. You know, Brian's all over the place, and it supports and accents music. And to be able to sit and watch him track and see how he does this, in my opinion, atypical kind of stuff, it was fantastic. I'm like super grateful that he's been a part of it. And we've actually become, you know, even closer friends through this whole process. And I'm really, you know, grateful for him to be a part of it.
Well, we've been talking with Gary Noon from Walking with Giants. The new album comes out January 16th. A new single out this week. Be sure to go out and check that one out as well. That one's called Heavy Hands. So, Gary, it's been a pleasure talking to you. And as I was prepping for this interview, man, I've really become a big fan of your band just listening to it the last couple days. So good luck with the release of the album, man. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks for the liking our music, and I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you.